Welcome to Faith to Lead. It's excellent every single time that we get a chance to have this conversation. I'm so glad that you're here today because I want to ask you this question. Do you know what your team's personal concerns are? When you look at all the people that are following you, it could be employees, it could even be peers, people in your work environment. What's really making them tick? What are they worried about before they even come into your meetings, come into the office? And does your team really know where they are heading and what their team's success will look like? So do you know them and do they know you? So we're going to unpack that question today. But first, I want to give you some information on a recent survey that was just performed by the Philadelphia Fed. And they published a report. It's called the Economic Stability and Mobility Report in Philadelphia. It was published on April 10th, 2025. So it's pretty fresh, pretty new at the time of this podcast. And listen to some of these bullets that came out of this report. The first was people are striving right now for economic stability before they can consider opportunities for upward mobility. This is very important. Economic stability, they define as people that are just trying to make it through the day, make it through the week. Economic mobility speaks to a person saying, I want to get promoted. I want to grow in a company. I want to get better. And really what it's saying is right now, people, they're not even looking towards the future. Right now, their priority is just trying to get stable because right now everything seems so volatile. Despite sometimes working multiple jobs, people right now find that they're unable to make ends meet. This is coming right out of this report. Another one of their bullets was fluctuations in earnings are widespread and substantial, and that only 1/4 of the people surveyed said they earned the same amount over 6 months, which means if you look at many people on your team and say, are you making the same amount of money right now as you have over the past 6 months? Is it stable? Is it set? More and more people are saying it's fluctuating how I'm doing. The third, people are experiencing obstacles to work. Some of the most often reported obstacles were caregiving responsibilities, health issues, or transportation access. Let me say those again. Caregiving, who's taking care of my kids, who's taking care of my parents, who's taking care of other people in my family, their own personal health, medications, doctor's appointments, prescription costs, and also transportation access. How am I going to get to my job or my second job or my third job? And there is an acronym that I want every leader to remember. It's called ALICE, A-L-I-C-E. It stands for people who are asset limited, income constrained, and employed. Asset limited, income constrained, but still employed. People that are working, but things are really tight. You know, this is going to be some really important information to digest because what they're finding out is there's more and more people within this ALICE category, and this is what defines many of your followers. But before we go on, I want you to go ahead and share this podcast, subscribe right here to Faith to Lead, or visit us at faithtolead.com because we're going to look at all of this fresh information, these fresh results, so that we can bring them right to you and your team and your business so that you can find out new strategies to address them so that your organization can perform well regardless of what's going on around you. You know, let's jump into some scripture. There's a book in the Bible that I love. It's called Habakkuk, chapter 2. And in Habakkuk, it was a prophet, and he was going through a lot of difficult times. It was a really melancholic moment, but he had a turning point, an inflection in his life. And in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1-3, he says these words, he hears the words, write the vision and make it plain on tablets so that a runner may read it. And right there, after he heard those words at a time of prayer and of focus and of meditation, kind of his silo away from the world, if you will, he said, you know what? I've got to go ahead and write a vision. I've got to make it clear so that everyone who reads this vision, not only will they understand it, but that they could run with it, that they could get with it, and that it will work for them. And that's kind of our focus today, how we can speak to the people around us, share with them a vision that is so clear and so vivid that when they look at it, they can understand it and that they can run with it so that you can get the commitment that's necessary to allow your team to win. So think of all those people that are around you. Man, everyone may not be in that ALICE category, but some probably are. There are people you probably walk past every day and you're talking with all the lofty ideas and plans and strategies, and they're thinking that their best path is to work somewhere else. So we've got to turn that around. So we're going to do that right here with some good vision writing exercises. So today we're going to talk all about how you can reconcile those two things, understanding their concerns with also letting them understand where your team is headed. The first is, when you look at writing and crafting a vision statement, that is a quintessential leadership function. Your team is looking to you to find out where they're going. And if not looking to you exclusively, they're looking to you to champion that direction-setting process. Many people say that it needs to happen, but they don't give you the steps to unpack the clues, to give you a template for how you can do it. So I'm just going to share a few nuggets with you. The first, your organization's mission, vision, and values, they're the essential pieces of the aspirational components. They create meaning and purpose for every stakeholders. It's you, your team, your clients, your industry. And it answers questions like, what's your identity? How does it shape your team's views of what is possible or impossible? Does it suggest that some strategies should not even be considered? A good vision statement, it'll tell you what you're doing, and it'll also tell you what you're not doing. It will inform where you're focusing and where you're not focusing. It gives parameters. It's like a railroad track. It sets, here's where we're going, and we're not going to deviate from this. We're not going to get distracted because we're clear and decisive and focused. We have a plan. We know where we want to head. So when you think of the need of that vision statement, that mission statement, all of those documents, it's going to really help people understand who you are and what is your identity. The second is your vision statement must be aspirational. It must paint a good picture of the future. I can't emphasize this enough because I've been in rooms with people and the vision has not been compelling. Sometimes people will say, well, let's look at all the resources that we have and create a vision statement based upon those resources. In other words, they want to ensure themselves from failure, vision failure. Let's not let's not think too lofty so that way we don't fail. But if it's not aspirational, if it's not to grow, if it's not to lead a person out of the dilemmas that they're in, if it's not to bring a real change to your community if you're a nonprofit, then it's not painting a good picture of the future. Where do you want to be? What's the desired state? So it's got to say, where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 3 years? Where do my people want to be in 3 years and 5 years? Let's start writing a vision towards that portrait because you can fix it. You can change it. You have the confidence. You're the leader. And it says your vision statement, it has to be aspirational. It must paint a good picture of the future. And I love this part. It's got to hit the heart as well as the head of your team. Analytics are essential. It must not be pie in the sky, but it must be motivational. It must be something that makes a person want to stop what they're doing, join ranks with you, and say, let's go ahead and get this done, and be willing to extend to you that commitment. It must be something that attracts investment from other people outside of your organization and say, when I hear that and I see that, that's the world that I want to live in. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on that team. Let your vision statement have those aspirational components. Let yourself go. Dream. Think about it. Be creative. Get with some individuals and say, where do we want to be? It's a very healthy exercise. Your mission and your vision statement, they create the lens by which you're going to evaluate everything externally and internally. They're not just created by your environment, but they're here to help you interpret it. When you look at your vision and statement, it's not, let's look at what everyone else is doing. Let's look at what the world is doing. And because of what the world is doing, then we have to deal with that. No, you have to think even more proactively than that. It must be, where do we want to be? And how can we, when we are achieving that, how will we then evaluate our world and find out what we want to do from there? You want to be in a very proactive, a very assertive position when you're writing your vision statement, not a reactive one. I want to give you some practical steps because I think sometimes we get all into the theory and the scholarship of vision setting and mission setting. If you're like me, you've probably read 1 million books. I say that metaphorically, but you've probably read a lot of books on the importance of mission and vision and value statements and strategy planning and everything else. But a lot of people don't tell you, well, what should you do right now? If you've got to go back into your office and say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to write a vision statement, or maybe a strategic statement, a strategic vision that says maybe for the next 3 to 5 years. These are some things you can do. First, ask your team, tell everyone, I want you to sit down. I want you to get around this conference room table, do whatever. Let's all go out to lunch. And then ask your team and say, write an article. That's right. I want you to write an article stating what would make you proud to be able to say or write about our team 4 years from now. Now, people may look at you like you're crazy, but say, I want you to do that. I want you to forget about whatever our challenges are for the day, whatever we're worrying about, whatever our concerns are, and let's go 4 years into the future. And if we were to go 4 years into the future, I want you to write an article that says, I am so proud about our team for what we did for the past 4 years. And say, what would make you proud? What would you want to write about? What would you want to say 4 years from now? That will get their wheels turning. That'll get their minds turning. Just ask them to write it. First, it may seem like you're going against some resistance there, but just tell them to go ahead and do it. The second, tell them this about the story. Write the story so that it touches every one of your feelings and senses when you read it and what this company has accomplished. Sometimes when we get inside of a meeting, everyone goes analytical. And let me tell you, I'm an engineer. I got my MBA. I could go as analytical as anybody. Sometimes my wife, she actually will ride me and tell me that I'm just a walking computer. But when we start talking vision statements and vision casting, it goes above and beyond the analytical. It hits the creative, it hits aspirational. Where are we heading? Clear canvas type thought. When you do a vision statement, it has to hit every one of your senses. A vision, it literally means, what do we see? What are we looking at in the future? What's the desired state where we all want to arrive to? And once you do that, it says this is what we should look like, what we should sound like, what we should smell like, what we should feel like. When I walk into the office, the vibe that I should get from the office. When we see our clients being satisfied and we see our community being changed, this is what the sound should be like coming out of the community. So you want them to write that story about what will make them proud, but to also use that metaphorical language that will touch every one of their feelings. Trust me, this will be very helpful. The third, the final vision statement, it's got to express the ideals and values for your short-term and your long-term. When we talk about ideals and values, there's an entire, I do some consulting on what they call balancing your organizational values. It deals with different types of values. You have your instrumental values, the values you do every single day, how we treat our team, how we treat leadership, our embrace of technology, our embrace of creativity. It deals with all your instrumental values, your day by day, but it also deals with your end state. We're an organization that believes in justice and equality and freedom. Those are end state values. So your statement, it's got to also talk about the ideals you want to see, the values that are not just at the full 4 years from now, but the kind of values that would make you proud tomorrow. What are some things that are going on in your office right now that you say, you know what? I wish it would be different. And next week, I wish these would be some of our belief systems and our values, not just things that we have on the wall, but things that we actually operationalize, that when you get underneath the rug, that's really what's happening here. Those are what you call your implicit or your actual values and not just your espoused values. So your statement, it should express those ideals and those values for the short term and the long term. Also, it's got to talk about the culture and the people. It's got to talk about the culture and the people. The culture is the mood, the vibe, the behavior, the norms, how we treat one another and what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. And it's got to hit all of those different aspects and not exclusively the numbers. You will get into the numbers when you get into action planning and different aspects of the strategy, your strategic financial plan. When you're getting into your vision statement, hit culture, hit people. Talk about the people and the teams and the relationships that they'll have. And the fifth aspect is it's got to clarify expectations about the kind and amount of desired growth. Sometimes people say, we want to grow. Okay, how much do we want to grow by? Is there a limit to our growth? What will be some of the rules of engagement of our growth? We want to grow by how much per quarter or how much per year or how much annually. And be explicit about not just the amount, but in what communities, what it will look like, so that way this vision statement, don't miss this, it can now become a scorecard that you look back to. I had an opportunity in 2020 to actually go through a vision casting exercise. And it was for an organization right in the midst of COVID. And so I was really laboring and thinking, how do we set a vision in a time when the whole world seemed like it was just upside down, especially in the organization that I was leading and I was guiding. And so I got together with a team and I said, what we need to do is we need to see how we can grow even despite all that we're going through. And so we set a metric. We said we want to hit 10% growth year over year for the next 5 years. And that sounded ridiculous. It sounded absolutely preposterous. That was a time when most organizations were just fighting for sustainability to keep things going day by day. I said, but let's set that as the metric. Let's set that as the goal, how we can do that. And then each year, an additional 10%. When we began that vision cast, and it led to a reorganization around some of those metrics. It had every single department leader. It had every single group leader underneath a department leader. And everyone started working, how can we hit this 10% year over year? When we set that metric and we had that expectation and we were still looking into the future, we said, we need more leaders, we need more training, we need more mid-level leaders, we need more resources, we need more communication, we need better processes to handle it. It led to a full-on organizational restructure. And I championed it. I said, let's do it. But doing that, it required a lot of change in me. I had to be willing to face some failures, some hurts, some disgruntled people. I had to be bigger than that. I had to deal, I couldn't be emotional and insecure. I had to say, let me put the organization ahead of myself. And that's a big aspect of this. But once we did that and we had those expectations clear, I'm going to tell you, it's the wildest thing. Each year, when we'd get to the end of the fiscal year and look back, one of the greatest feelings in the world was to see when we hit that 10%. And each year we either hit that 10% or we came really close to it. So we were one of the few organizations in that industry that actually grew from 2020 through 2025 by those numbers. It attracted a level of investment that we're still seeing today. Why is that important? Because if you set a vision and you start setting some of these metrics and these analytics, you start setting and defining expectations about the kind of growth you want to see. And it will lead to an organizational overhaul sometimes, new ideas, new thoughts. It's healthy. And when you do it, you'll begin to leverage and see some investment. And the last is you want to describe the key drivers of change. Make sure you know that over the next several years, over these next 4 years, these are going to be the things that we do well. These are things that we do well right now, and we're going to keep doing well. And there's going to be some other things the opportunities that make themselves available to us, and we're going to drive them home. We're going to be the ones that can champion it and start speaking now about some of the change initiatives and change plans that you can foresee for the next 5 years. The sooner you start that conversation, the better off your organization will be. I've had an opportunity to see vision casting, strategic planning, mission setting, a process called strategic review and action team committee report, and it's always been healthy. I'm going to make the case. And hey, by the way, I want you to do a couple things. You can go ahead and share this podcast, subscribe to this channel at Faith to Lead, or visit us at faith2lead.com. Share your comments. Let us know some of the ideas and thoughts that you have, because this stuff works. I can tell you it works every single time. Let me encourage you, real quick. I was actually years ago, I think it was about 12 years ago, I was put into a place of leadership that forced me to actually go back and study leadership so that I could be better at it. I was working hard. I was literally giving it my all, but I wasn't seeing the results that I was hoping for. And that's the frustration that a lot of leaders have. Maybe you have that frustration right now, where you're saying, I'm giving it all that I have, but with everything that I'm giving it, all the commitment and all the sacrifice, it's not moving the needle. I'm not seeing the results. Or maybe you're failing and people are saying, why did you do that? And you feel like the whole world is criticizing you. Well, I was kind of going through a moment like that, and it really made me go back and study. And it made me go back into school to do exactly what we're doing now, studying these principles of leadership and these aspects. And in one of the things that I actually did is I came out with this guide that was called a strategic review and action report that you take a team of leaders through. I said, well, let me try it for my own institution. I actually did it. I had the workshop. I set up the meetings, got all the feedback and the comments, brought it into a report. And as I was writing the report, it was amazing. I saw the ideas. I saw the solutions to the problems. I saw my own inadequacies. I saw exactly how the organization should shift. And just going through that exercise created the urgency of change that was necessary. I wasn't the only one who saw that things had to change. Everyone else in the room did. We just needed a forum to talk about it, to come together, to have a template where we could sit down and say, where do we see ourselves 4 years from now? What do we want to get done? What are some of the things that are changing? What are some of the things that need to change in a safe place, in a safe haven where creativity and foresight could converge? And that was probably one of the healthiest exercises for our team, for our organization, and for myself. I want to encourage you, go ahead and do it. So sit down and take your team out, find out exactly, where do we see ourselves, write it down, make sure it appeals to every sense. Make sure you know what the people on your team are personally experiencing, and show them how over the next 4 to 5 years, that team's achievements, it will pull them out of that Alice category, how they can see themselves actualized in that plan. And not only see them self-actualized, but have an opportunity to speak into it and breathe into it. It will improve and enhance your commitment. One of the great things about strategy planning, sometimes we talk about vision setting, but strategy is really when you break a vision down into smaller chunks. When you say, yeah, we have this vision for the organization. Okay, but where do we see ourselves in the next 3 years? And as you go through these strategic writing exercises, the strategic thought processes is what they're called, it will invariably make you look back at your vision statement that was written and say, should it be restated? Should it be refined? Should we add some new pieces to it? Or should we clarify some aspects of it? It's very healthy. Every 3 to 5 years, go through that experience. Sit down with the team that you have and say, let's look forward. What are some things we need to clarify? Where are we going? What do you want to see? What do you want it to feel like? What would make you proud? And then go back to your organizational documents. I can tell you it will move the needle. It will help you build the commitment that you want to see done. You can make this change. Hey, listen, I want to thank you so much for just being with us today. And don't forget, I want you to share this podcast, subscribe to this channel, or you could visit us at faith2lead.com. Over the next few episodes, we're going to be looking at some aspects of different leadership theories. I don't want you to miss any one of them. And it doesn't matter what trend is going on in the world that we're in. It doesn't matter what's happening globally. Someone is making it work for them. Someone is looking with foresight about the things that are happening and with foresight about the opportunities that are being presented. And it's saying, how can we leverage ourselves based on our drivers to take advantage of those opportunities? Our passion here at Faith to Lead is that you'll be one of those individuals, one of those leaders who could win. It doesn't matter what the uncertainty is or the volatility is, you can do it. Thank you for joining us on Faith to Lead.